Hi, I'm Tim Elkhorn, the radio play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're watching Keeping It Real Sports.
With Prince Bell, we rocking with Keeping It Real Sports, and we gonna be on this. We gonna be on a lot of times. I love the platform. Check in, it's the new wave. Like, follow, subscribe, and do all that good stuff.
Come on. Told you I got you. Wanna talk about the game, he can talk about it. Tennis, match, golf, he can talk about it. Don't matter what it is, he can talk about it. Any sport dude, he know about it. Save your boy bum, don't doubt it. If he tell you that it is what it is. The real sports guy in the Sandman. Talk show game in the bag, man. Rep, don't have to throw the flag, man. Steve Taylor, Andy Sands. It's over, OVA. Game over, they don't play. From the fourth quarter to the ninth inning. NASCAR wheels keep spinning. To the 18th hole, he's still in control. Eye on the goal. Coach never missing the play, cause he know the deal. This keeping it real. Sports. Come on. Keeping it real. Yeah. Let's go.
Oh, let's go indeed. It's another edition of Keeping It Real Sports. I am your boy, the real sports guy, Steve Taylor. He is the Sandman, Andy Sanzada. And we got another big show planned for you today, man. We got playoffs in full effect, Sandman. We got to break all of that down. And then we're going to tell you the winners and losers in the draft, man. Man, we got so much to talk about. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great, Steve. It's good to see you as always every Saturday morning.
Every Saturday morning, man.
Part of the ritual. It's all good.
Part of the ritual. And then we flip on and then we join our good friends over at ESPN Radio after we get done after this. And we do that. And again, big things are to come. And, you know, we'll talk about that. But, man, as always, we always have big things happening here. What we call hot off the press. Let's share it with you.
All right, Steve. Well, there was a big story in college baseball, believe it or not, this week. Alabama fires their baseball coach for a betting probe. Bohannon was fired Thursday for violating the standards, duties, and responsibilities at the university employees, the school announced. I mean, just when you think you've heard it all, partner, and you think you can't get any dumber, then comes along this guy.
No. It gets better, Andy. Andy, the story gets better. That's only part of it. You're only reading the outside. Okay, let me tell you what really happened.
Give me
this
the
dude
inside.
is on the phone. The dude is on the phone with a guy who's placing bets for him, okay? All right, he's looking over at the team he's currently playing, and he's deciding at the last minute, you know, we're not going to go with the starter that we were going to go with, the seasoned guy. Let's go with the guy that ain't never started a game before. Okay, go ahead and put that bet in for me. Okay, let's see how that works out for you. Oh my goodness, come on, Alabama. I mean, and have you noticed the trend on trouble with Alabama coaches? Except for the football program, maybe he's a better cover-upper than the other coaches. I'm just saying.
That could be a good possibility. Money speaks too, and there's no program in the country that has more money than Alabama football. So that might have something to do with it as well.
All right, man. Let's do what we call quick hitters, man. Quick hitters.
Well, it's the first Saturday in May, Steve, and that means it's time for the Kentucky Derby. Later today, the Kentucky Derby will take place once again. But breaking news this morning, the favorite, Forte, has been taken out of the Derby because of an injury. So Forte pulled now, Steve. A lot of people were really going to put a lot on the line when it came to Forte because we said like he was the favorite, but
Forte was 3-1 odds going into the race. Now that Forte's out, Tappet Trice has moved to 9-2 odds, as well as Angel of Empire moves up to 9-2 odds. So those are your best bets right there on the Kentucky Derby. You know, I just like the name Tappet Trice. You know, so that's who I'm rolling with. Tappet Trice, man.
I'm actually going to agree with you. Here's why, though. It's my brother-in-law's birthday today, and he's actually a big horse gambler. And he really likes the way that horse runs and has seen that horse win a couple of other races. So, Sal, this one's for you. We're going to go with Tappet Trice today. Let's hope you're right on your birthday.
Okay. There you go. Man, well, look here, man. I tell you what's going on, man. Let's get to Milwaukee and then the firing of Mike Budenholzer. Man, after going 58-24 on this past season, but they get bumped. I mean, they got rolled in the first round of the playoffs, man. I mean, is it any surprise to you that this guy had to be the fall guy?
Somebody had to be the fall guy. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the owners now, don't forget who's part of the ownership, right?
Well, yeah, you know, that comes into play.
Fire him quickly, right? Haslam.
Yeah, no, okay.
So, but look, here's the thing. I mean, some changes needed to be made in Milwaukee, no question about that. I don't know that this was the change, though, Steve. And the guy just won you a championship a couple years ago with the same team, essentially. And to his defense, there were a lot of injuries that they couldn't overcome. And I don't think that's on the coach.
There was glaring mistakes that was made coaching-wise down the stretch in basketball games, in particular, not calling timeouts when you had timeouts in championship situations that led directly to you losing, not to mention the fact that you refused to change your defense against Jimmy Butler, who was lighting you up nuclear-like. I mean, you did nothing to change that defensively. And when your star comes out and says, you know, I went to the coach and said, maybe you should let me guard him, okay? But you got to listen to the coach. That should have told you the handwriting was on the wall for Mike Budenholzer.
Yeah, and the other reason it could have happened as well is because Giannis, you know, his contract is going to be coming up in a couple
Giannis is under
years.
contract for the next couple of years. You know, that's but
with all these trade demands, they wanted to protect that from happening, I believe. So I think that was part of it.
When your star says, I wanted to guard him, but I have to listen to the coach, that doesn't bode well for you.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So, hey, man, so I tell you what bodes well for us is tonight, UFC 288, Aljamain Sterling against Triple C, the return of Triple C. Why is it so special? Because Henry Cejudo, when he left as champion. Aljamain Sterling has been champion since. These guys actually don't like each other. It's going to be fireworks. It was fireworks at the weigh-in yesterday. There was literally punches thrown in. I can't wait to see this one. Andy, you know I'm good at picking these. I can't pick a winner in this one. I don't know.
That says a lot right there, because normally you're dead on when it comes to these type of matchups. But should be a great fight. I know you only have 2 TVs. You got a lot of choices tonight. So,
man,
but I'm
one
sure
of
this
them
will
will
be one of
definitely
them.
be on. Man, we will definitely be on the Aljamain Sterling Triple C Henry Cejudo match. That is, man, fantastic. Man, it's fireworks, man. It is fireworks, man. It is the best against the best. And speaking of the best, we're talking about boxing's biggest star, Canelo Alvarez, makes his return to Guadalajara tonight. Yes, he goes back home to fight John Ryder. Yeah, I had to do some digging on John Ryder. Here's what I know. I know that the guy, man, is a plotting fighter, man, that comes forward. He keeps his elbows tucked tight. That means he's open for the explosive shots of Canelo. I don't think Canelo's going to walk through him because Ryder is a tough rider, so to speak. It could be a big fight, a good fight, maybe going about 8-9 rounds, but I expect Canelo to get the win in Guadalajara tonight.
All right, so there you have it. Quick hitters, fights, Kentucky Derby. Man, it's a big Saturday. We got NBA, we got NHL, we got everything today. No question about it. But you know what? We got to get to a draft recap, if you would,
Yeah.
please.
Let's do it. And let's hurry it up.
Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up!
Let's go. It's this week's Keeping It Real Sports News. We call it the Hurry Up.
All right, Steve. So we had the draft last weekend. LeBron's 4 through 7 concluded over on the weekend on Saturday after our show. And that was mostly the interest for both of us because our teams didn't pick till later in the draft because of some of the other moves that they've made in the past, most notably for the Browns, obviously trading for Deshaun Watson. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my breakdown on what I thought stood out to me, and then we're going to go to your breakdown, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, so let's start with the Browns. All right, normally I wouldn't do that, but we're gonna do that just to change things up a little bit. Okay, here's the recap for the Browns. And the first pick, they took Cedric Tillman, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, also runs a fast 40. Then they went with Siaki Ika to help with the depth on the defensive line. I think he's going to be impactful right away. I actually believe he's got a chance to start with the way that he's been talked about in the move that they made. But the thing I like the most, Steve, is what they did on the offensive line. They needed some depth very badly on the offensive line. Jedrick Wills, even though they picked up his fifth-year option earlier this week, he's not reliable. He's been injury-prone. So you go out and you get one of the biggest linemen in the entire draft in DeJuan Jones from Ohio State. And then you cap it off with Luke Whippler, who can step in and potentially play center right away if you have an injury. But the other move that I like the most, they got depth at the quarterback position. Yes, I said the quarterback position. They went out and drafted the all-time record holder at UCLA for passing in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about the likes of Troy Aikman having played at UCLA. He had better numbers than Troy Aikman, and he fits the mold for how they're going to run their offense. I think that was a sneaky pick. I really like what they did there. So the overall grade for the Browns, I've got to be a little biased here, Steve. I'm going to give them an A. I thought they did a hell of a job considering that they only picked from rounds 4 through 7. And they added a couple of weapons on defense in those other picks as well. Another team that did well for me, how about the New England Patriots and what Bill Belichick was able to do, trading up to get Christian Gonzalez to shore up that secondary. They also made a number of moves that allowed them to have more picks to address the depth that they needed to address, also to get fill some holes that they needed to fill. I really like what New England did there. And I don't often say that because it's hard for me to compliment them, but I have to be an analyst in this case and give them their rights. But I didn't like what the Raiders did. I give them a C-, maybe even a D, really. I just felt like they missed the mark with their first pick, even though Tyree Wilson is a strong pick. I don't think that's the right area they should have addressed. All along, all the mock drafts, including ours, Steve, we had Christian Gonzalez going there, right? We just talked about him going to New England. I thought that should have been the pick for me. That's why I had the Raiders with the C-.
Yeah, it was a lot of head scratching going on for me. But for me, the head scratcher of the draft had to be this guy. Now, I don't really like to give draft grades, man, because you just don't know. But, I like to call winners and losers. Well, I guess the coach, if you feel like you won on this, if you feel like this is your guy, and that's what you're selling your fan base, that you didn't want to see him be a star somewhere else. But again, man, I just have a hard time with watching him get the layups, man. I just want you to make the layups, man, not the 3-pointers all the time. Mm-hmm. That's what's big for me. The team that I thought did well, and again, I really don't like to give draft grades, man. But in because you've so well done that, let me look at the team that I thought that kind of did well in the draft was the Philadelphia Eagles. Definitely
Great pick.
Definitely game one. Man, the fact that they could go and get Carter at 9, and then they come back and get Nolan Smith at 30. These guys are the Georgia Bulldogs. They've added 6 Georgia Bulldogs from the championship team 2 years ago are now Philadelphia Eagles. Man, that's pretty, That's pretty robust if you're talking about it. And then when you talk about the team that I think that kind of pimped the draft was Houston Texans. You know, even though some of the draft grades on C.J. Stroud may not be as high, but I think I really like what they kind of did in the draft, you know, going to get two of the players that they want. When you can pick second and third in the draft, you know, I mean, that's
something, right?
Absolutely. And then as a Ram analyst and my Ram friends, I know Kenny G is on here. I know my brother is on here. He's a big Ram fan. And Patrick Casey, all of y'all watch, man, and shouts out to all of you guys, man. You know, the Rams draft, they were pretty selective because we didn't have a first round choice, but we went with a not so sexy pick. Steve Avila was our first pick. I think he's a guy that can come in. He played at TCU. People, you remember the last time we saw him, he was kind of having his way with the Michigan team that we know from up north. You know, Stetson Bennett, the Rams drafted him as well. And then they drafted LaDainian Tomlinson's nephew at cornerback, another TCU kid. But when you look at the Rams overall draft, there's one guy, when I look at all of the highlights, Andy, when I look at all of the highlights of all of these kids, Puka Nacua, he leaps off the screen. It's not close. And I'm telling you, people, I was ahead of the curve on Cooper Kupp. And I'm telling you, Puka Nacua is Cooper Kupp reincarnate. When you look at him, go and look at it. Do the homework for yourself. Just don't listen to me when I'm telling you. It jumps off the screen. So I'm telling you, Kenny G, we done found another Puka Nacua, and he's wearing number 17. So we're going to give him Bobby Tree's old number and tell him, hey, do what you do. Puka Nacua.
All right, there you have it. So a draft breakdown from us. There were a lot of other teams that we like, Steve. We just don't have time to get to all of them. But I think one of the teams that we definitely agree upon that hit the draft hard was what the Atlanta Falcons did by getting Bijan Robinson in the first round.
Yeah, most definitely.
That was, you know, to me, that was the steal of the draft. So, all right, let's do Between the Circles and talk about these playoffs. All right, Steve, before we get into the actual games, let's take a look at the updated brackets. So we have Seattle taking on Dallas on one side, Florida taking on the Leafs on the other, and then we also have Vegas and Edmonton, as well as Carolina and New Jersey. Let's get into each series and talk about what we think is going to happen ultimately in the end. Let's start with Toronto and Florida. And to a surprise of a lot of people right now, Steve, Florida leads this series 2-0. Game 3 tomorrow. This is an absolute must-win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it's been done before. Teams have come back from 3-0. This team will not be able to do that. They have to find a way to win on the road nonetheless. And you really have to be impressed with what Florida's done. But to me, the difference in the series is goaltending. We always talk about it, Steve. Bobrovsky has been better than Samsonov. That's why the Panthers have a 2-0 lead right now.
Man, the Kachuk Verhaeghe, man, front line, man. That line has been giving great production, man. The numbers don't lie on these guys, man. We're talking about 10 goals now, 21 assists, man. I mean, come on, they're getting flat-out production from that number one line, man. And Toronto's going to have to match that front line. We saw Ryan O'Reilly come to life in the last game, but it just wasn't enough. Again, goaltending was their bugaboo because they got shell-shocked, man, with goals scored very, very quickly against them. Man, they're going to have to, man, shore that up. And the sickening part about it is, they're not being penalized. It's not like they're taking penalties. They're just getting beat 5-on-5.
Yeah, they've got to find a way, and you know, we'll see if they can do that in Game 3 tomorrow. The other series in the East, how about what the Carolina Hurricanes have been able to do, Steve? 2-0 lead, 2-0 dominant lead, 11-2 in the first two games has been the score for Carolina. New Jersey just doesn't have an answer, and now, partner, they have goaltending issues. with
Yeah,
Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek. Neither one of these guys want to step up and win a game.
Here's the thing, man, that's disheartening, man, if you're a Devils fan, okay? You can't beat them 5-on-5, okay? You've had 19 power play opportunities this whole season against this team. You haven't put it in the cross. In fact, you've given up 4 shorthanded goals. So you can't beat them, man. You can't beat them when you've got the man advantage. You know, you can't beat them 5-on-5. I mean, damn, what are you going to do against these guys?
Well, they're going to have to do something different or it's going to be a sweep. All right, let's take a look at the Western Conference now. Let's go to the Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. This one tied up at 1-1, partner. Game 3 tomorrow as well. I think Dallas was a little tired in that first game, even though they went to overtime and lost 5-4. Second game, they really seemed to find their game. Ultimately, I think Dallas wins this series. I just think they have more talent in the end. I think they also have better goaltending, although Grubauer's been outstanding for Seattle. But I think the likes of Pavelski and Suter and those veteran guys are going to help them pull away in this series at some point. It's definitely going to go 6 or 7, but I like Dallas to win the series when it's all said and done.
The return of Pavelski, man, was big, man. Did you see, man, the 4 goals that he got the other night? And man, and these were goals that he were generating. It's not like he was getting slap shots. He was getting great misdirection. The guy's always in the right place at the right time. Again, Suter is one of those mainstays that kind of stabilizes the Dallas front. I expected them to get more of a stellar, settle down approach, man, what they did in game 2. Grubauer was outstanding in game 1, after giving up the comeback. But you saw Dallas made the adjustments late in game 1 that kind of carried over into game 2. I expect that to carry over again into game 3.
All right, and then our last series, we'll talk about Vegas and Edmonton. Game 2 tonight, Steve. This one's a little bit behind everybody else, but that's because of television reasons. So game 2 tonight in Vegas. Oilers need to get this one. I don't think they can go down 2-0 even though they're going home. I know a series doesn't change until somebody loses at home, but I think, you and I had Edmonton winning the Stanley Cup this year, so I think they're going to have to avoid that 2-0 situation, not put themselves in that hole, worry about their nerves. Draisaitl had 4 goals the other night. It still wasn't enough. That's concerning to me. McDavid's got to step up. I know he's been passing the puck, Steve, but it's time for him to put it in the net.
Man, he responsible for a lot of goals. What they're going to have to do is be better defensive. Andy, they have to stay out of the damn penalty box. Period. End of story.
Absolutely.
That's what it is, man. With this team, man, when they've lost, this comes directly to them taking dumb penalties. They have to cease that. Draisaitl, man, is spectacular, man. Man, the skating ability of Connor McDavid is what opens up the scoring opportunities for Leon Draisaitl, man. He's a knockdown, deadly shooter, man, from anywhere on the ice, man. Love his game. But, man, what they're going to have to do is quit taking, man, dumb penalties. Honestly, I bet Vegas the other night. I have, man, the Oilers to win the series, and I think they'll bounce back tonight. But, man, that was a great, man, time, man. If you really look at the way that's set up, man, Vegas, man, was set up well to win that game, which indeed they did. They held serve. The Oilers will get it done tonight.
All right, so there you have it. That's our hockey wrap-up for the playoffs. Let's get to the NBA update. Talk about some basketball.
Let's do it.
All right, partner, it's NBA playoffs time, and we've got some great series going on so far, particularly this one to take a look at, the Knicks and the Heat, tied 1-1. Now, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Jimmy Butler did not play in Game 2. I really haven't liked what I've seen from the Knicks so far. It's amazing to me that the series is tied. Julius Randle did return in Game 2, which helped New York. Jalen Brunson actually showed up in Game 2, which also was a reason I think that this series is tied. But this is going to go the distance, partner. This is far from over, I think. It's going to be a long series.
Andy, don't get caught up in now you're starting to tell me you're depending on Gabe Vincent to be your scorer. Stop that madness, man. No, the return of Julius Randle was huge. Why? Because Julius Randle creates mismatch problems. We saw that, man. The Heat defense is going to have to pick something. Pick your poison. Now you leave Jalen Brunson open. And, oh, by the way, Jalen Brunson is the only player who scored 20 points in every game in the playoffs this year. You see what I'm saying? So it opens up everything for the Knicks, man. Guys like quickly get shots, man. I love the Knicks. And, oh, by the way, RJ Barrett has started to show up.
Yeah, he really turned it around since game 2 in the Cleveland series. No question about that. So, all right. Last night, we had the Celtics take a 2-1 series lead by going into Philadelphia and stealing game 3. A lot of hype last night with the MVP being handed out to Joel Embiid, deservedly so, I might say. But Jason Tatum showed up big time, Steve. I think ultimately Boston's just a better team. This might go 6, but I don't think it goes past that. The Celtics are going to end up going to the Eastern Conference Finals once again.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. Game 1 might have been somewhat of an anomaly where Harden came in and scored 45, I believe it was. He did.
Yes,
he had 45. Game 2 was the return of Joel Embiid, and he kind of struggled in that. But I just think last night kind of got back to what we expect to see out of Boston, and Philly. Boston flexed his muscles. Man, Boston is a perplexing team because, they're Dow Joneses. You just don't know what the hell to expect out of them, man.
Yeah, but I really like what Missoula did with the matchups, too. I mean, he put Grant Williams in there to guard Embiid. I think that helped out a lot. He's been making great adjustments throughout the playoffs. That's why the Celtics are in the position they're in. I think he's the one coach that has had to make the most adjustments, and he's been able to do it so far. Okay.
Well, man, let's get to this one here, man. The Phoenix and Denver, man, last night, man, that moves to 2-1. Man, we had, stellar performances by Devin Booker and KD. They're going to have to continue to do that if Phoenix has any chance. You know why? Because this guy, this is what he averages against DeAndre Ayton, and I told you it didn't matter if KD was there. It don't matter. He's toying with them dudes, man. It looks like the varsity playing freshmen sometimes, man.
Can Booker and Durant win this series alone? I don't think they can. I think they've got to get help at some point, Steve.
Where's the help coming from?
That's what I mean. I don't know. I'm saying, you would know that better than I would, but they can't do it alone. And if for some reason they do, then they're not going to have anything left for the Warriors or the Lakers.
The problem is, man, the bench, and I said that, man, all along, man. I just don't see it. I said, you remember the other day we were on the other show, and I said no one's concerned with the minutes that these guys are logging, and then it just so happened that night the thing happened to Chris Paul where he's out now with the groin, so it's like, man, you can't keep doing that. Last night was pride. They was like, dude, we not getting swept. I think things will turn back to normal, coming up in this next game. But I just can't see them beating Denver, man. Denver has too many answers to the questions, man.
Has Jamal Murray been the missing piece for the Nuggets over the last couple of years?
Man,
in the playoffs?
You damn right he has been.
Starting to look like it hasn't, doesn't it?
Okay, and let's get to this one real quick before we get out of here, man. This one here is the one that everybody's talking about. The Lakers and Golden State. It takes center stage, man, again tonight. Game 1, what we saw AD being AD. And what we saw in game with the to me, toward the end of game 1, you kind of saw the Warriors' adjustment as they started to go small. As they went small to start game 2, we saw it was a Clay day. And Klay Thompson led them on in the shooting. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't think the Lakers are going to change their philosophy. They're going to keep chasing that little bitty guy around, man.
This series comes down to Anthony Davis, right? I mean, if he plays the way he does in game 1, the Lakers win the series. If he plays the way he does in game 2, then the Warriors win the series. Ultimately, Steve, that's what it comes down to.
Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. The winner of game 4 wins this series. I don't care about tonight's winner. I really don't.
Okay.
Whoever wins Monday night wins the series.
All right. We'll keep an eye on that. Before we go, we got one last thing. You talked about the fights tonight. Well, there's a different type of fight that I'm looking forward to. It's pay-per-view time, baby. WWE Backlash for the first time ever, Steve Taylor, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny not only hosting the event, but participating as well in a Puerto Rican street fight against Damian Priest. Should be exciting. Brock Lesnar against Cody Rhodes will be the main event in that one. A couple other championships on the line. But I'm excited. It should be a good one. Roman Reigns not on the card tonight.
Yeah. The things that make you go, I'm just saying, hey, look, it's been fun, but it's been 84 of them we got in the books, man.
Yeah, we're coming
84
up on
of these things, man.
at 100 shows in a couple months.
Yeah,
we'll have
man.
to celebrate
Yeah,
that somehow
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and I won't be watching wrestling tonight.
I know that. I'll fill you in. Don't worry about it. Hey, listen, we got to get out of here. So before we go, we wish you a lot of love.
Peace. Check them deuces.